The alarms wailed through the data center like a dying heartbeat, flashing red across the ceiling and painting the cold metallic walls with warning shadows. In the middle of the chaos stood Ethan Cole, a 34-year-old single father with tired eyes and shaking hands, staring at a screen that announced the nightmare no one saw coming: system failure, full shutdown imminent. Just moments earlier, 30 top-tier engineers had huddled around the servers, sweating, arguing, and trying everything to stop the collapse of the company's entire network, and every attempt failed. But now the CEO stormed in, heels striking the floor like gunshots, and her voice sliced through the panic as she jabbed a finger at Ethan. "If you're such a genius, fix it," she mocked. And in that second, every head turned toward the man who wasn't even supposed to be in the room. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us of the strength we carry inside us, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories to life. Ethan hadn't slept the night before. He had spent it sitting beside his 6-year-old daughter Lily's hospital bed, watching her tiny chest rise and fall under tubes and blinking monitors. She was fighting pneumonia, and every time she coughed, he felt his own heart crack. He only came to work because he needed the shift, needed the money, needed the insurance, needed anything that kept her treatment going. He wasn't an engineer anymore, not officially. He'd stepped down from his high-level position after his wife died to raise Lily on his own. Now he worked part-time as a support technician, doing small fixes, keeping servers tidy, staying invisible. And most days, he liked it that way. But invisibility ended the moment the CEO noticed him standing among the frantic crowd and decided to humiliate him. She didn't remember that Ethan had once designed half the infrastructure she now depended on. She didn't know he'd built the original fail-safe system herself back when this company was still a struggling startup banging on investors' doors. All she saw now was a worn-out single dad in a faded shirt, hair a mess from sleeping in hospital chairs. And so, in front of 30 of the region's most prized engineers, she threw the challenge at him like a dagger. Ethan didn't respond to her insult. He didn't flinch. He didn't even look at her. He stepped forward only because he knew that if the system collapsed, the consequences would be catastrophic. Thousands of hospitals, schools, and emergency systems depended on this network. And as he stared at the blinking monitors, he remembered Lily's tiny hand gripping his, whispering weakly, "Daddy, go to work. I'll be okay." So he breathed in, cracked his knuckles, and began. The room held its breath as Ethan's fingers flew across the keys. He ignored the warnings, bypassed protocol walls, and dug into the underlying architecture, something none of the engineers dared do. They watched as he worked through parts of the system he had created 9 years earlier, lines of code buried under years of upgrades and patches. He traced a memory leak through a maze of modules, a flaw that had been dormant until a recent update activated it. The failure spread like poison, draining the system's resources second by second. Ethan had minutes. Maybe less. His hands trembled not from fear but from exhaustion. The images of Lily coughing violently, nurses rushing in, machines beeping, kept flashing in his mind. He blinked them away, wiped sweat from his forehead, and continued typing until his fingers blurred. The engineers stood behind him in stunned silence, not understanding half of what he was doing. But Ethan wasn't guessing. He was remembering. He was fixing a problem in a machine he had once built out of passion and belief. A loud crack echoed as one of the server blocks overheated, and a chorus of gasps rippled through the room. The CEO stepped back in panic, covering her mouth. The head engineer whispered, "It's going to crash." But Ethan whispered something too, just a quiet promise to himself. Not today, not while Lily's waiting. He executed a string of deep-level commands, created a manual reroute through an abandoned framework, redirected the corrupted data streams, and isolated the failing module. His final keystroke triggered a system-wide stabilization protocol he had invented years ago, one no one else remembered existed because he never bragged about it. Then the screen froze. Everyone stared. For 10 agonizing seconds, the entire room felt weightless. And then, system restored, full recovery successful. The room erupted. Engineers who had given up minutes earlier now shouted and cheered like they had witnessed a miracle. Even the CEO stumbled back, speechless, staring at the man she had mocked. Ethan leaned back in his chair, chest heaving, sweat dripping, eyes closed in relief. He didn't smile. He didn't boast. He just whispered, "Lily. Daddy fixed it." Word spread instantly. Executives flooded in. Some congratulated him. Some apologized. But Ethan didn't stay to bask in praise. He stood up, grabbed his jacket, and made his way to the exit. The CEO hurried after him, heels tapping nervously against the floor as she called out his name. When he finally turned, she saw the exhaustion on his face, the kind of exhaustion that comes only from love and sacrifice. She swallowed hard and offered him something unexpected, a full reinstatement, top salary, flexible hours, complete coverage for his daughter's medical care, and a public acknowledgement of his contribution. Ethan didn't say yes immediately. He didn't trust her kindness yet. But as she spoke, her voice cracked, and tears filled her eyes. She admitted she had misjudged him, judged by appearance, dismissed a man carrying burdens she never knew. And for the first time, she apologized, not as a CEO, but as a human being finally seeing another human clearly. Ethan accepted, not because he wanted the glory, but because it meant more time with Lily, more security, more hope. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs inspiration today, and make sure to subscribe for more powerful true life stories. Your support truly keeps this channel alive. Before the ending, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were Ethan? That night, Ethan returned to the hospital, sat beside his daughter, and held her tiny hand in his. And as she slept peacefully, no longer coughing, he whispered the truth she would one day understand, that sometimes heroes don't wear capes or badges. Sometimes they're just tired parents, fighting quietly in server rooms, hospital halls, and broken moments, but still standing. And that night, for the first time in a long time, Ethan allowed himself to hope again.